that has got a lot of you talking. We'll turn our focus on one of the more contentious and high-profile controversies in recent Ghanaian public infrastructure history. I'm talking about the Sky Train scandal. Now, this saga, which centers on some $2 million payments allegedly made without proper board approval during the previous administration, has raised serious questions about governance, transparency, and accountability, and also how public funds are managed. Now, this current government has launched prosecutions against former officials, signaling a strong stance on financial misconduct. Well, legal challenges and emotions to halt proceedings seem to complicate the path to justice. But this morning, we'll talk about these matters in some detail. Let me say good morning to my guests already seated in the studio, ready to do justice to this very first topic. Solomon Owusu is a senior communicator. He's with Movement for Change. Solomon, always a pleasure to see you.
And a pleasure to be here as well. Good morning, Helen, and I trust everything is fine.
Everything is all right. You seem to have amassed a small, I don't know whether to call it a cult following, especially on Wednesdays. The people look forward to your thoughts and perspectives on the matter. I know this morning will be no different.
Absolutely. There will be no different this morning.
Okay, you're ready?
Very ready to speak truth. It's all about truth and being honest with the people. That's all.
All I can say is make sure you're strapped in tight, your seatbelt is on. It's about to be an epic ride indeed. I've also got Dr. Joshua Zato in the building, senior lecturer and political policy analyst at University of Ghana. Dr. Zato, always good to see you on Wednesdays.
Good morning, Helen. Good morning to you, and good morning to your listeners. It's always a pleasure to be here, and it's nice. It's nice to always link up and see what is happening and what's happening with the issues. I want to thank your listeners. I want to thank your viewers. I want to thank all those who join us to help us to do this for God and country.
Absolutely, and I know that you'll be sharing your perspectives and thoughts with us on these issues. So again, thank you so much. Elikem Kotoko, Deputy CEO, Forestry Commission of Ghana. Elikem, we haven't met yet. Nice to meet you. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. We haven't met yet. We haven't met yet in person, but for today.
That's right.
Yeah, I have been watching your program, so I'm fully aware of what goes on.
Okay.
And thank you for having me.
All right, most certainly.
Yes.
I'm excited for this discussion this morning. Again, your thoughts, they're duly welcome across our platforms. Do share your opinions with us. Again, I'll try to read as many of them as possible. Now, I laid the foundation, small foundation for our conversation, our very first topic, which has to do with the SkyTrain scandal. But let me bring you up to speed on what the developments have been thus far. And there have been some developments as far as the case is concerned. We'll take you through a few slides so you know exactly what is transpiring in this $2 million SkyTrain scandal. And again, the gentlemen are here, they're poised, ready to talk about this particular case, but we'll also expand the tentacles as far as accountability is concerned. A number of you asking questions about oral and its work, having laid the foundation for some of the updates we're seeing now. So again, in this case, you've got the defense for Professor Christopher Ameyao Akumfi. He's the former board chairperson of the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund, GIF, and he's at the center of this controversy. Now, the case is ready, or shall I say, was ready to set off in the High Court, but defense lawyers have put out this piece of information. There's an order striking out the action against the accused as premature and in violation of a legal condition precedent imposed on the prosecution. What does that mean? Well, it's an order referring to the Supreme Court of Ghana pursuant to Article 132 of the 1992 Constitution. Now, the constitutional question that arises as to the proper construction and application of Sections 1 and 7 of the Public Property Protection Decree 1977 vis-a-vis the fair trial guarantees under Article 19 and the standards governing the exercise of prosecutorial discretion under Article 296 of the Constitution. Now, a consequential order staying proceedings before this honorable court pending the final determination of the constitutional question by the Supreme Court. So the defense lawyers for Professor Christopher Ameyaw Kumfi says that before the High Court actually makes a determination, the Supreme Court has to wade into the matter and answer some questions. And you can see how some of these processes then would stall the action that is in motion. But it's one that, of course, we're keeping a keen eye out on. Elikem, let me start off with you on this particular one. And I know that your government is on a quest for accountability. Have you monitored this $2 million SkyTrain saga? What are your preliminary thoughts on where we are now?
Thank you, Helen. I am not surprised at some of these legal gymnastics being put to play by defense or by lawyers for Miss Honorable or Mr. Ameyaw Kumfi. I mean, the fact remains, as Ghanaians know, just as you, myself, and everybody around this table, that some whopping $2.5 million that could have gone into any enterprise that would have provided jobs for the teeming unemployed youth was either misappropriated deliberately by a certain cartel in furtherance of perpetuating their selfish interests. And when found out and going through the processes, these are the same people who are now trying to find some avenues to seek some refuge and to prolong the process in the name of my rights, the law, legal, what have you. But it has not taken out the fact that some wrong has been done. I am not a lawyer. I don't think I aspire to be one yet. But I believe that what Ghanaians know out there is their determination to see government prosecute people who have either embezzled, who have misappropriated, or deliberately done anything of such that constitutes an abuse of their office. In fact, I am happy to be here today in relation to this matter. But even moving on, maybe that would be another issue to be submitted to even the Attorney General and others. Do you recall the trains that were brought in November of 2024 that crashed?
There was an accident, I recall, yes.
When many of us were saying that train, for instance, was a refurbished train, some naysayers rejected that. I have now laid hands even on the customs declaration of that. So we are not done with one yet. There's even this one which shows that it was a 2016 refurbished train, and it was not even brought in the name of government, but an individual or a private company. And that is another matter for another day.
So are these new revelations unfolding?
Even with another, also related to trains. So it appears when it comes to procurement or any government business, they're a cartel. There's a company called VAOB Group. As of last night when I even checked, by January, they had changed the name of the company, changed their address, and so many shady things.
This has to do with the train that you're talking about. This
is a different one. Yes, you can. I'll share this with you later on. And you see, so when we have individuals who are entrusted with public funds or the trust to govern or administer duties that is given them, and they have decided to throw it to the dogs and do their own things for their selfish gains. I mean, it is even embarrassing enough that the likes of Ameyaw Kumfi and all others who have mentioned in this whole saga, I mean, in a serious country or in somewhere in a nation country, they would have hanged themselves by now, because the shame they are bringing to their families, to their children and their generations, that alone should be enough reasons for them.
I'm measured in our conversation because the trial is set to begin. And so, of course, you know that these persons have not been declared guilty.
I am fully
we put
aware.
That in context.
Neither have I pronounced them guilty as well, too. But the impression out there informs me to say what I am saying as of now. Until when they are proven otherwise, then I can also come onto your platform again and say, okay, so after all, this and that was the case. But that is the impression now. And we cannot pretend not to speak to it. And it has been one of the major problems of Ghana, where we have always been taught to be more moderate and measured in our utterances in some of these matters. Then we treat it with velvet gloves, and in the end, somebody will say in our local parlance, oh, it will go through, and after a long while, and because I do not even blame you, the media. We are overwhelmed with scandals in the history of Ghana. related to the past regime. To the extent that you may be following one today, before you know it, tomorrow there's another, and then you let go of the previous one, then there's a way we all forget about it. And so all I have to say is that I see these as a legal gymnastics being conducted by the persons involved in either delaying the process or finding an avenue, but I don't think that this will wash. I am so convinced that the Attorney General has done due diligence and is very convinced about what ought to be done before pursuing this. And we are all looking forward to seeing it to its logical conclusion. Absolutely.
Elikem, I'll come back one more time for your final bite on this one. Let me pick the thoughts of Dr. Zato. Now, Dr. Zato, we know that there are going to be some witnesses who will be taking the stand, because at the core of this issue is whether or not there was, in fact, board approval. We know that there are some 9 board members, and we get the indication that, as per what some witnesses are saying, there is some contradiction there. Was there requisite board approval, or was there not? Let me expand the tentacles of this discussion. From a policy and governance standpoint, what are the potential risks when large-scale projects like this SkyTrain project proceed without clear approvals, or shall I say, transparent processes? Let's widen it and then let's bring it down.
Okay. Once again, thank you very much, and thank you for this discussion. I have taken certain positions when it comes to accountability and when it comes to trying to hold public sector workers or public servants or policymakers accountable. And I want to reiterate that position so that nobody says I'm being hypocritical also when it comes to these issues. One, I have absolutely no problem with investigative agencies or the judicial system or the Attorney General investigating and duly prosecuting public sector officials who they claim have breached the law. I've said that if you raise your hand to swear an oath to take an office, then you should know that one day you may also raise your hand to plead guilty or not guilty. And so that should always be a caution in whatever you do. So any man or woman who serves in the public, because when you're serving in the public, you have a lot of power with you. We're talking about sometimes financial power, policy power, regulatory power, a lot of public power that is in you that you are using to persecute. And you must use that power to pursue or prosecute the public interest, knowing very well that one day you can be called upon to provide answers for what you are doing. So again and again, I have absolutely no problem. When people's fundamental rights are abused, I'll talk about it. When people are treated unfairly, I'll talk about it. But any state agency, any regulator, any prosecutorial office that is doing its normal work of trying to hold public sector, public government officials accountable, I have no problem with that.
Right.
That's number one. I want to put that to two. Two, I also want to make a point. Then I come to an issue of accountability, and this is where sometimes the issue looks a little bit dicey.
Okay, and I hope that you'll also answer the question that I've posed today, because I want us to also...
I'll do that, baby. I just want to come from
that, okay.
I'll come today about governance of SOEs. I'll do that.
Right.
See, the other concern we have is that this is the AG office prosecuting people in what I call under a post-regime accountability framework. After that, we can talk about two main types of accountability in the public sector in Ghana: regime accountability and post-regime accountability. I define regime accountability as where the government and your Attorney General prosecute your own employees if they go wrong, to its logical conclusion. Then secondly, I define post-regime accountability as a system where if a sitting government is unwilling or unable to prosecute your own people, and then you leave office, that a government coming should do that. So again, we've seen that. That is why, for me, when this new Attorney General came and issued null prosecute or whatever it is, he said, well, I had a problem with that. I believe that when you start a prosecution, only the courts, and the courts alone, not a politician, should decide the fate of the cases. When a politician has that amount of power to decide that I like you, I don't like you, you go in rest, you don't go in rest, to dismiss cases like that, it betrays the public trust in those cases. It makes the public think that people are being prosecuted for political reasons. Because the question I ask is, a lot of money has been invested into these investigations, like happening now. A lot of manpower, a lot of resources. How would you feel if today this Attorney General leaves or this government leaves, and then somebody comes and then dismiss these cases? Whether the people you have is a strong case or not, I believe in that. Let the courts, let the judge, and not a politician decide the fate of cases. So when we do that, when we use that knowledge prosecute to reward our friends, and then we use our prosecutorial authority to seem to be prosecuting or persecuting our opponents, it's bad. It's not good for our democracy. Let me come to this. See, one of the reasons that is causing this is happening today. There are a lot of CEOs that are appointed, but they don't have board of directors. They don't have boards of directors. A lot of them. The boards are yet to be formed. So even their own appointments are yet to be regularized. But these people have to work because they cannot just go and sit out and they're not working. So now, by the time the board comes, so you were talking about the board, this is where some of the problem comes. By the time a board comes in, maybe the CEO and the management, they've taken some decisions.
Is that what happened in this instance?
No, I'm not saying what I'm saying. I'm saying that is one of the weaknesses in how our SOEs, our state-owned businesses are managed.
Okay.
In almost all cases, the CEOs are appointed, and some of the CEOs are very powerful men and women. Very powerful men and women in the government or in the party. So they go there and it takes them 6 months. Imagine you are a CEO now, you have been in the office for 6 months now. Your board is not in place. You cannot get up every day and go and sit there and just sit there doing nothing. You have to work. And it's so a board comes in and the board says, you've done A, B, C, D, but will not rectify it or will rectify it. Or the board comes in and now you are trying to convince the board that you took those decisions in the public interest. That is sometimes where the tango comes in. Or the board comes in and the board thinks that you are so powerful in the government that they cannot question whatever you do. So they will rubber stamp whatever you've done. And then it is only later that these revelations are made. So we need to go back to understand how we govern these SOEs. My thing is, look, the right thing to be done is that you get a board in place and then you appoint a CEO. The CEO goes, or the board then appoints the CEO, which is actually placed. Okay. You go with your CV to the board, or you go and meet the board looks at it, the board then hires you, the board approves your entitlements and everything, they start working. But we rather put the cart before the horse, where we appoint the CEO, and you can see that in almost all these cases, this is sometimes where the problem starts.
That's what I was asking specifically. Is that something that you know is present in this case?
No,
and just for the sake of time today, we've got two hot topics. I just want us to hone in on this. And the reason why I asked that question about potential risks when large-scale infrastructure projects proceed without clear board approvals or transparent processes is that I want the people of Ghana to really get the essence of why it is important that we go by the rules or that there is strict oversight. $2 million is no small amount of money. Dr. Zah, to put that in context, what could 2 million Ghana cedis do for this nation?
It could 2 million Ghana cedis could tar the road from Heng to Jeffrey to Tumu to Chuchulega. It could do the Tumu roads easy.
And you've been on that agriculture agenda.
Yeah. It's a lot of money. It's obscene money. That money could just do that. In fact, we don't need to wait for the big push. That money could do all that road. And that is, remember, that road could also, that money could do the road from Jeffrey to Golu to Tumu. We are talking about the maize belt in this country. We're talking about the maize food belt. So yes, again, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. Even if it was 2 million Ghana cedis, it's a lot of money. So again, that's what I'm saying. You can never see me here sitting there trying to defend or justify people using it. But I'm saying that if we want to, we have to go back to look at where sometimes some of these mistakes are made. One of the biggest conduits of corruption in Ghana is procurement, especially single source procurement. It is the biggest, if not one of the biggest. So any government that is serious about procurement, I've always said this, why don't we just say that we are going to ban single source procurement?
In fact, that was a promise of the last government, and we saw the reverse happening.
Exactly. Every government in opposition, every party in opposition will say, when we come, we will reduce it, or we will ban it. They come, they don't ban it. They come, and they make it worse. So my point is, why don't we do that now? Why don't we have a reset? Why can't we just say, you can put a minimum, a basic minimum, say like any contract that is listed about 20,000 must go for public tender, no matter what. And any contract below that, so that you make sure that small contracts are not. Right. Procurement is the single largest source of corruption in this country. And that's why you see, look, almost every corruption case starts with procurement. Now, so if we get the procurement sorted out, 1, 2, then this board CEO relationships.
Fantastic.
It's because, as I said, right now, that is one of the sources where, one of the weaknesses of our SOE sector. Look, whenever Ghana declares for IMF, go for relief, check and see a huge large part of the debt is coming from what? SOE sectors.
Certainly. All right, Dr. Zato, I think your point is well made, and thank you for that perspective as well, talking about how we structure, the board, what comes before what CEO. And interestingly, you've also got the former Chief Executive Officer of GIF, Solomon Asamoah, also at the heart of this particular controversy. Solomon, I come to you. I know that you have been following this case. From a legal standpoint, this information that we're getting or hearing from the defense lawyers talking about going to the Supreme Court instead of the High Court, is that something you can clarify for us? Elikem says it's legal gymnastics. Do you read that as well? Do you infer from the actions of the defense lawyer that this is simply delay tactics?
Well, every lawyer wants to safeguard the interest of his client. And so from that perspective, I don't have any problem with a lawyer trying very hard to, as it were, save a situation, no matter how bad the situation is. So they will play some of these antics. You see, Helen, we are not angry enough as a country. And if managers of this country are listening this morning, the word on the street there is that the youth are very much angry. They know their future is being destroyed by the actions and inactions of people that we put in position. That's why I'm very surprised that Zato is trying to embellish the situation. You cannot. We are talking about $2 million that has been taken, allegedly. Like in any case, anybody that ends up in Isawam, the cases start as allegation. But they end up there. You understand? So people cannot threaten anybody with, it's still ongoing. After all, the lawyers that are involved, they are saying their clients are not innocent. Why are they not waiting for the court, the judges to finish the case before they come out to say that their clients are innocent? We are talking about elders of society that we entrusted our destinies into their hands to manage our funds for us, who have been accused of having stolen $2 million. That's what we are talking about. Money that could have saved all these 3 children. That's what we are talking about. Look, when the agreement for this Sky Train was signed in Johannesburg by the then Minister of Railways, Joe Gatti, he made certain statements. And let me read some of it for you to understand the gravity of what we are dealing with.
Certainly.
He said, there is confidence in the project. The promoters, Sky Train Consortium, are very serious. And that is why we invited the president himself, that is Nana Akufo-Addo, to be in Johannesburg to witness the signing of that agreement. Now, what was the project supposed to do? He emphasized that the Sky Train project was the solution to the ever-increasing road traffic congestion in Accra, with its detrimental effects on economic activity, pollution, and the quality of life.
That's a wonderful intervention.
Can you, but that's,
instead of going into traffic, being in traffic, you just go in the sky.
My goodness, Helen.
Travel in the sky.
Can you imagine Helen in a Sky Train greeting us from the top?
I can actually imagine.
You can imagine that.
Yeah. That would look beautiful.
The pomp and pageantry that greeted this beautiful idea, it occupied our front pages. Various dailies. That Ghana was going to be the first African country to have a Sky Train.
I think we're following in South Africa's footsteps. They have something like that.
They have a metro. I mean, they have a speed train. But the Sky Train is not in Africa.
We were going to be the first.
Following Singapore. Can you imagine how beautiful it would have been?
Wow.
Then we handed our destiny to these old men, Professor Amia Kufi and Solomon. By the way, this motion, do they have the consent of Solomon Asamoah? Because from your topic, it seems to me that it's lawyers for Professor Amia Kufi who have decided to seek interpretation at the Supreme Court. What about the other accused person? Does he concur to this position of Professor Amia Kufi? We gave them this money. Sky Train, no, money gone. This is what we are discussing. And that is why you must be angry. When it comes to embezzlement of state funds, you have to take up political callous. Because there is no constitutional provisions, be it with the movement for change or the MPP or NDC, that states clearly that when you are given a position, go and steal. Have you witnessed any of it in any of the constitutions? So when you do, it means you are doing it for your personal benefit and not for the entire country's benefit. We have been learning different types of transportation in this country from childhood. Road transport, air transport, water transport, rail transport. We only witnessed one. or two in this country, road and air. Give us that train for us to witness something. This is where we are. So for me, what you are doing in court is one of those things. At the end of the day, the judge says 9 July, the case continues. But from where the eyes sit, the premature nature they are describing, maybe in terms of the scale of how people have looted this country in the past, if you are going to compare, then indeed their case is premature. You know why? We are talking about Professor Miakumfi and Solomon Asama having been accused of embezzling how much?
$2 million.
$2 million. If Professor Miakumfi casts his mind back and realize that Wontumi has been accused of $45 million, why wouldn't he say it's a premature case?
That's the reason why the defense lawyers are...
But if I'm reasoning into their membrane that my client only $2 million under this country, I'm saying only because
you say in the grand scheme of
others
things
have been accused of $45 million and they are walking freely, sharing monies in town. Why wouldn't I say it's premature? When they know, look, and those are the national, what's the name, scholarship secretariat. If they are unable to call out the former boss, as we speak, everywhere around the globe, Ghana scholarship secretariat owes. We owe the British government more than 40 million pounds. Even Togo, we owe the government. And if Professor Miakumfi and the legal team sees this, and they realize that people are home chilling, and he's the one rather facing this prosecution, why would the legal people not go that this is a premature case? So maybe, if we are going to look at the scale of what happened in the past to what they are being accused of, then the premature nature comes in. But at the end of the day, whether you took 100,000 Ghana, 200,000 Ghana, you must face it because it's you and I. Our tax revenue.
Solomon, you said something at the beginning of your submission. You said that Dr. Zato was seeking to embellish the issue. He makes some fundamental points.
No, but the point is...
and I wanted him to, from his point of view, talk about some of the issues that will, have certain appointees, officials find themselves in hot water. So, for example, not constituting a board before the CEO actually takes office. Is that not a valid concern that we should be thinking about?
Helen, you did a wonderful job. You asked a fundamental question. That what was the relationship between what you were saying and the current case? In this current instance, the board was in place. So I was even wondering why he was going around that when the board...
expanded
No,
the
you can't expand that. We are dealing with a reality, a life situation. Don't go and expand it to areas that has no bearings on this. There was a board in place. They refused, according to the Attorney General. And the Attorney General has promised you and I, including Zato, that he's going to retrieve these monies for us. Why wouldn't you be happy and support the Attorney General? Well, indeed, you never took part in the sharing of the booty, if there was any.
In fact, he laid that foundation. He says he's got no pounds.
So he shouldn't have gone into the realm of when there are no balls. We are dealing with a live situation. We are not dealing with an abstract. Right. We are dealing with something that is real. The matter is before court. And one of the issues that he have raised was that these people that have been accused never sought board approval. That is what we are dealing with. Indeed. The board was in place. So where he was going had no bearings on what we are discussing. And that is what I want to draw his attention. You see, many a times we find ourselves trying to, as it were, protect our political interests. We have moved beyond that. This is a public interest case. And that until, can you imagine just last year, somewhere October, a woman in Kontompo in Sekendi area sold two-week-old child for 300 Ghana cedis.
My goodness.
This was widely reported, that a woman goes to labor and they give birth 2 weeks old, sell for 300 cedis. Then we are talking about people sitting there with a stroke of pen, they take away $2 million if it's anything to go by. And you want people to come and sit here and embellish it. We give them everything. When they are giving positions, we buy their fuel, we buy including beer into their fridges.
We buy beer.
Beer for them. Go and see their fridges over the weekend. Then we want you to feel good at our expense. We don't feel good. You feel good for us so that you can think proper for us. Now you won't do any of this. On top of that, you are accused of having taken 2 million. But now you must be chasing people. I'm telling you.
Solomon, thank you so much for your thoughts on this. Elikem, let me come to you on your second bite. I think I'll make it probably the final bite on this one.
I am surprised at even the posturing and the approach being used by Professor Ekumfi and his team. Because For instance, I am fully aware that this matter is in court. But I have also heard from the grapevine their attempt to quench this matter after their alleged ability to have raised $1.5 million, $500,000 short of the amount. But well, if you are unable to meet it and now you would have to be prosecuted, I understand, because then it means that...
Wait, Elikem, I'm trying to follow your...
Yeah, I know you are puzzled. You cannot believe that. I mean... And that is why I'm letting you know that I'm fully aware the matter is in court. But I'm also aware that...
Are you suggesting that via the back door, some attempts have been made for these monies to be put back in their coffers?
I leave it to your interpretation. But this government will not tolerate any such. Any attempt by anybody to want to resolve these matters, pay behind the scenes so that the matter is let go, will not happen under the watch of President Mahama. And therefore, that is why I'm saying that, look, this legal gymnastics is just a process to prolong and delay the process. And they who are in the matter know this for a fact. And so they can go on and go to the Supreme Court, go to ECOWAS Court tomorrow, go to AU Court, go to the wherever. In the end, well, prosecutions will begin, would continue. And so if you who is unable to raise even the funds that you have embezzled, failed, and fallen short of the amount, pleading. But you see, the NDC government, I believe, with the vision and mission of President Mahama, is to leave a legacy and to ensure that things done right are done well. And so once there will not be anybody in this regime that will be compromised, I am very convinced that this matter will be followed to its logical conclusion. And those who are culpable will be dealt with. Nobody will be tolerated to pay a dime behind and be let loose.
Elikem, thank you so much for that. Some intel there from Elikem Kotoka. I can't corroborate this information that he has presented to us this morning, but thank you for that added intel. Dr. Zato, I'll come to you for just your final bite also on this particular issue. I do have an update on the SML saga. You recall Strategic Mobilization Limited. It's also been an issue that's fraught with ups and downs, a lot of drama, shall I say. I'll give you an update. But a few of your messages here. Jack Zom, he says, in a country like Japan, state looters, when caught, are not only banned from public office, but even in their communities, the shadow of disgrace haunts them down. Elikem, I think you made mention of what happens in other jurisdictions. Efo Yesuto says, SkyTrain, SkyTrain, SkyTrain. All we know is settings. The money is gone. All right, do keep your thoughts coming on this particular one. You've got Prince Nanayao York says, get special courts for oral cases, should not travel more than 6 months. Interestingly, a lot of you are talking about tribunals and public tribunals. I know it's a very hot topic, and we'll find time to also dissect that. Okay. Okay, there's some good mornings coming through on here as well. All right. Okay. Some of the messages I have to redact, but do keep them coming. Newtonkin says, if a thief comes to steal your properties, but when it's time for accountability for the wrong committed, it is slow. All right, he says, let's allow the system to work effectively. Okay. All right, some of the messages I won't be able to read. Let's make them a bit more palatable so I can sail through them. Manini Mani says that the prosecution of the previous government officials is too slow. I've seen a number of you also echo that particular sentiment. Dr. Zato.
Helen, a quick
yes,
one.
Elikem.
This incident, as you read, is just like you've caught a thief, and on your way to the police station or wherever, he says, please hang on, I need to drink water. Please, I'm tired. Let me rest for 5 minutes. Kindly hold on. I need to use the washroom. These are just the delay tactics. And that is exactly what is being said by somebody who sent in a message.
You say it's all just delay tactics.
It's just.
Dr. Zato, give me your final thoughts. Really, in just a minute. I want to talk about SML, then we go to our second discussion.
Thank you very much. It's like when I agree with my friend Solomon here, he still doesn't want me to agree with him. So I don't know what he was doing. Look, you and I, we are reading from the same book. We agree. One, that greed, avarice, corruption should be prosecuted. And the people who have done it, when found guilty, should serve their time. We agree with that. So, I mean, there's no difference between us on that. Good. But the board issue is sometimes we have to educate people on these issues so that we don't deal with it like we don't take a fireman's approach to them. A fireman's approach, we don't wait until the fire is there, then we go. We should also try to prevent the fire. So that's why sometimes it's important to take this opportunity to educate people. And so I'm a lecturer, I have a class here to 12. So sometimes that's what I'm saying, that I have a class at 1:30 to teach students, and some of them are watching. Thank you for watching, my students. We have to educate people. And it's important. Everybody will tell you. If you ask, and think you are supposed to be a CEO, accountable to a board.
Yes.
But you're already in the place, 6 months, there's no board. So whom are you accountable to?
But that is not the situation.
I'm not saying the situation. I've told you that this particular situation is different. But it's emblematic of the other situations that we've had in the public sector. And I'm saying that it has contributed over the years in other past cases to these issues. So again, I'm trying to expand the discussion, because when we narrowly focus on these particular cases, we ignore others. And when we ignore others, they creep up on us, and then we create a bigger problem. The point I'm making is this. Any public servant who is accused of committing a crime must subject him or himself to prosecution. And the state authorities must make sure that they use every legal means to make sure that they bring the person to justice.
All right, Dr. Zato,
that's my position.
Point well made. Point well made.
But you see,
and he also mentions that it's something to think about for the future.
Yes. But for the purposes of his same students who are watching, there's a reason for us to know that even if your board is not formed, that is the reason why you all have ministers. So there are still authorities for you to seek approval from. So anybody, and so it can never be said anywhere that because boards are not formed, CEOs find themselves in certain troubles, amongst other things. If something is beyond you and there's no board, you have a minister. And those are the
so to safeguard yourself against these things.
This one, let's educate. I'm happy. Yes. You are a deputy CEO. Yes. Let's educate.
There
are certain functions that only the board can know, the minister of state, not the minister. There are certain functions that are reserved.
So in that case, there's no board. You don't take action.
Exactly.
So there are those that you can take.
So what I'm saying is
that's what I expect you to say.
No. So I'm making a point that sometimes the delay in making decisions can also lead to certain financial implications. The delay in taking decisions. So again, we are all making the same point that yes, boards play a very important role in the management of state-owned enterprises. In fact, they are the governing. That's what we call it, the boards of they are the governing boards. So I'm appealing to appointing authorities that look, sometimes it's not possible for you to get the board together before the CEO. But can we limit the time period that you appoint the CEO? At least let the CEO get 1 month before. There are some CEOs who, as deputy CEO, who have not been paid, who don't have salary, because the boards are not there to approve their salaries and some of the benefits they're supposed to get. That is true. So there are people working right now for 6 months, they don't have salaries. My point is that let's limit the gap between appointing a CEO or MD and the board, so that the boards can effectively supervise the actions or inaction of the CEOs, so that we can improve corporate governance in this country.
Point well made. I think what I hear at the core of this discussion is that if you are a CEO this morning, in fact, you don't want to take any move until you can cross all your T's and dot all your I's. Thank you so much for your thoughts on this first topic. But I mentioned that there's an update on the SML saga. Now, the OSP arrests former GRA officials over SML contracts. Now, the Office of the Special Prosecutor has arrested Reverend Dr. Amishadai Owusu Amwa, former Commissioner General of the GRA, also Isaac Krenzel, ex-Commissioner of Customs, and now General Manager at SML. You also recall Christian Tete Soti. He was in that documentary by the Fourth Estate, former technical advisor and now MD stroke CEO of SML. You recall in that video, he was asked about some things that were on the website. He says, I don't know about any website matter. Well, the arrests are linked to ongoing investigations into suspected corruption and corruption-related offenses in respect of contracts between the GRA and SML for revenue assurance services. The probe also seeks to verify SML's claims that its services have been saving the nation significant revenue. So Owusu, Amwa, Krenzel, and Soti were detained last night after failing to meet bail conditions. So there's some updates there on the SML matter. It appears things are really heating up on that front, and in due course, we should be hearing a lot more on SML.
It has to, because if $2 million corporates are in court, then billions. Remember, the Bank of Ghana's minimum capital requirement is 400 million cedis. SML, we are told between 2018 to 2024, were given 1 billion. You could have established about 2 banks plus 200 million sitting somewhere. So it's a serious matter that we must not play with. And I believe this is where lawyers who have been defending the actions and inactions of Ken Ofori-Atta out of this country must take a clue from. This matter, SML, is one of the reasons why Ken Ofori-Atta is being sought for by the OSP. You remember?
That's right.
Now, these people could have also said that they are sick. They want to do what we call video conferencing. Why have they been arrested? Are they also not Ghanaians? You see, sometimes when we are doing certain things, we cannot pick and choose. The state must be allowed to operate at all given times. And I believe in the same way that we have extradition orders in this country that has taken out Ghanaians, those they call Game Boys. I believe before that extradition order was allowed by the Minister of Interior, he should have called for a barter trade. So that while they are bringing Ken Ofori-Atta in, we will also be sending our boys out. After all, if we are going to measure the magnitude of our money that we are talking about, what the boys have been accused of having taken from the Americans is in the region of hundreds of millions. What Ken Ofori-Atta has been accused is in billions. So between the two, he should be coming down faster than our people.
Exchange.
Exchange is not robbery. Fast track.
Solomon,
so that he comes to answer.
All right. I wasn't going to specifically take your thoughts on this one, but Dr. Zato, there's something you want to add to this conversation.
Yes.
Yes.
Again, when we are talking about this SML thing and it's going, one of the people we must thank always is Manasseh Azuri Awuni.
That's right.
We must always thank him for what he's doing in that sector. I mean, the guy, he's used probably his own resources, he's put everything on the line to do this. So we must always thank him for that. And we thank people like that who want to make sure that the public resources are wisely used and that people who have breached the law are brought to book. We must always do that. Secondly, we must also try to tell the story. The last time we were here discussed this, and I have a publication here, this from the commission from the Bank of Ghana, Petroleum Holding account data. They also show that SML has a pre and a post sector. I always want to put this within the context.
Right, but Dr. Zato, I don't want us to go into
then that's okay. Then we can go ahead. Then we can go ahead. So we should thank Manasseh for what he's doing, and we should thank the special prosecutor and pray that he should go ahead and do a good job.
Manasseh was on the call. I remember there was some rebuttal to this. So let's not go into that. But
I'm cheering for the OSP to do a good job in all this arrest and prosecution.
I think I now understand why Solomon also in the first instance said that Dr. Zato was hovering around the matter substantively.
Why did you say that?
Because in his second submission, as I have listened again, he's only always found very nice and cunning ways to put praise on some people and never in any way to say Ken Ofori-Atta was mentioned in this or that. And that is very telling. But you see...
What does it tell you?
What it tells me is that there's some bit of bias which is hidden and not to be shown. I mean, Manasseh did a great job. We all know he did. Let's praise him for the good job. Let it do because I cannot say that one of my own is guilty, anything and all of that. But look, let's face facts. Like Solomon said, what Ken Ofori-Atta is doing, but when the time is due, he will definitely be in this country. Simple as that.
Elikem, thank you for your thoughts on this one. Again, we'll follow what's happening, of course, with SML. And then as the issues progress, we'll talk about that in some more detail. Now, I want to take you to Parliament, specifically yesterday, a presser that was held by the minority. Now, what are they saying? Well, they have condemned the Bank of Ghana over reported dismissal of staff members, describing the move as illegal and an abuse of power. Let's take a listen to the Honourable Member of Savelugu on this issue in Parliament yesterday.
Article 24 of the 1992 Constitution guarantees every Ghanaian the right to work under fair and satisfactory conditions. Article 23 further requires public institutions to act lawfully and fairly. The Labour Act 2003, Act 651, particularly Section 64 and 65, lays out clear grounds for termination: misconduct, incapacity, or redundancy. none of which apply here. The minority in Parliament stands shoulder to shoulder with these workers, and we will not waver. We demand, 1, the Bank of Ghana must restore every single dismissed worker to their rightful position without any further delay. Their appointments were lawful, their terminations were not. The governor of the Bank of Ghana must face Parliament and explain this heartless abuse of power. You are not above the law, and you will answer to the people. We call on the Chief Labor Officer, the National Labor Commission, and the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, Shraj, to intervene immediately to protect these workers, uphold their rights, and stop this lawlessness. To the Bank of Ghana, you have broken the law, betrayed your mandates, and wounded the trust of our nation. You cannot hide behind secrecy or power. The people of Ghana are watching, and you will be held to account. To the dismissed workers, you are not forgotten. Your pain is our pain. Your fight is our fight. The minority in Parliament stands with you, heart and soul. We will not rest until your jobs are restored.
All right, again, that was the Member of Parliament for Savelugu. That was a press conference on the floor of Parliament yesterday. In fact, the minority is making certain demands as far as the dismissal of these Bank of Ghana staff is concerned. They're talking about an immediate reinstatement of dismissed staff. They're asking that the Bank of Ghana governor be hauled before Parliament, also asking that there be some action from labor authorities. They are urging dismissed staff to seek legal redress and also asking for a full parliamentary inquiry into the dismissals. Elekem, how do you situate the demands of the minority against what is happening? Is this all in a bid to reset, or do you have legitimate reasons to let go of these staff members?
Helen, I watched or listened to the MP for Savelugu, and I could only draw the conclusion that some way so soon the men are done in the minority caucus, and it's now the turn of the women. And I asked myself if the woman in question ever worked before, ever had any work experience, or ever got a job where she was given an appointment letter. Because you and I am convinced, are fully aware that when you go seeking a job or you go for a job interview and are given an appointment, you are even notified in that appointment that you are on a probationary period of 6 months, averagely. And so the Bank of Ghana did indicate fairly that in your appointment letter, you are on probation, and this is going to be based on further performance assessment. And so this performance assessment was done, and you were found to be unsatisfactory in terms of your performance or in terms of your assessment. And therefore, a fraction of those, I think I'm told numbering close to 100 or so, were made known that you do not meet the standards, you are either substandard or fail to live up to performance standard, etc. And given a month's salary in lieu so that you leave. Then suddenly you now have these people do a baby cry, and I don't know if they reach out to the minority. And so a female member of parliament decides to be their advocate and begin to say that in terms of fairness. But does she understand what fairness is? Fairness means...
When you say female, is that relevant in this discussion? Why do you
because
mention
it used to be the men who were doing these hatchet jobs. I mean, Reverend what, Apenyo, what. Then when they are clamped down one bit and their own Achilles heels becomes what how they conducted themselves, suddenly they have been a bit quiet now.
So it's a strategy.
So it could be. I mean, the men are finished. So don't forget the minority is also just a dot in parliament. It's just a dot. So they don't even have the men. They do not have that much numbers. So everybody is scrambling to be relevant, to find space and become the show boy or show girl and all that. It is not to be, it's not any gender attack at all. I'm just trying to let you know. It's good that women also show up now. If the men are failing us, the women must be up. But I'm asking, she talked about fairness and the labor laws. And did she take time to know that when you talk of fairness, you have been told in your appointment letter that you are going to be on a probation period of 3 months, 6 months, what have you, based on your performance. So if you are told now that based on the conditions precedent that we gave you, you failed to meet this one, which is a major one, because if you fail to meet the performance assessment, it means you are not fit for purpose. Mind you, this regime will not take square pegs and put them in round holes. Unlike in the past, where it was just a free fall. Let me tell you, there are going to be more revelations of this in other institutions. There are even institutions in this country right now as we speak. People do not have certificates, not even the degree certificates. But they were employed in the past 8 years and they are receiving salaries, even ahead of some people who have gotten masters. Subsequent days will unfold all these things. There are people who have brought fake certificates and they are working in state agencies. There are people without even appointment letters, and they are working. It was as if people were running the state agencies like their own backyard garden, and they could decide who to hire and who to fire at any point in time without recourse to the law and due process. And so I am so disappointed that a woman of her caliber, who seemed to gradually and steadily making some inroads and becoming vocal, will allow herself to become the special purpose vehicle to distract herself by pressing that button. Because when she talks of fairness, talks of the labor law acting and all of that, did she take time to ascertain what the veracity of the matters were? I mean, this is just a fraction of the people. What about the majority who were even taken? That tells you that there was no problem with them. So they want to say that because now, if you've been recruited and it's a job, you cannot under any circumstance even be fired, even if you are found to be a square peg in the round hole. Even if you are an accountant and you have been recruited mistakenly as a doctor, you have gotten a job, so we don't need to fire you. You must continue to be the medical doctor that you are and be injecting people anyhow, killing them anyhow, and we should not care. For Christ's sake, this woman is become this presser she held.
All right, Elikam, you've put a lot of emphasis on the gender of the messenger.
No, I just said
I think we can move away from that.
This member of
It's
parliament.
a minority decision. She's just merely the face of that particular presser yesterday.
This member
Let's
of
move away from that.
You see, we tend to be too sensitive to matters of this nature. When I say this woman, is she not a woman? Or do you prefer I call her a man?
Let's focus on the message or the substance of it.
I have not ruled that out, but I am addressing the person in question. This woman is acting in a way that is an embarrassment. That is not worthy of exemplary leadership to other young women who will look up to her. And that is one fact. If she's done so well, we would equally give her all the applause and praises for doing that. And it has nothing to do with gender at all. Mind you, I'm sorry, but I have to insist to say again that I made you know that when I even made the first reference, I made you know that it is because the men have failed woefully. So now the women have to take over. And that has nothing to do with discrediting her for being female at all.
All right. I wanted us to also just take a quick look at the excerpts from the Bank of Ghana letter to these, shall I say, quote-unquote, dismissed Bank of Ghana staff, just to put into context this 6-month probation period we're talking about. And you've got that up on the screen. Now, it says the following: in accordance with the terms of your contract of employment, a satisfactory 6-month probationary period was to be completed. Management regrets to inform you that your appointment cannot be confirmed. And I think there's another slide to that. This assessment was based on considered performance outcomes, alignment with the bank's values, and the potential to contribute meaningfully to its strategic objectives. And these are the reasons that have been put forth by the BOG to these individuals who did not pass their probation. So they were not then further taken on to become fully employed, or shall I say permanent workers in the bank. They say that after that 6-month probationary period, they did not perform satisfactorily, and for that reason, they will not be moving forward with their permanent employment. So, Elikam, then you say you situate the demands being made by the minority against what the Bank of Ghana is saying. You say there's no real merit to the demands being put. So the Bank of Ghana to go before Parliament, you say that's not necessary. They're asking for action from labor authorities and also urging that these dismissed staff seek some legal redress. They point to labor laws, specifically Act 65. Now, if you listen to celebrated labor expert Austin Gami, he says that actually when he looks at the information, that they wouldn't fall within 65, they would go under 66, which has to do with staff who are on probation. So that distinction has to be made. And Solomon, you're here, so I guess you can also put that into some better context for us. What is happening now?
Yes. You see, and any attempt by anybody to advise this unfortunate staff who didn't meet the standard will be just sending them on a mission to waste their resources further. The 1 month in lieu that's been given them should be spent wisely to find alternative jobs and you see, it also tells you that you must prepare yourself well as somebody who is seeking a job. You don't just say, I'm seeking a job, and if you're not fit for purpose, you should be taken because there are no jobs out there. It doesn't work like that.
Solomon, is this an HR issue? Is this a legal issue? Is this a political issue? Or is it a conflation of all of the above?
It's an HR issue. First of all, I understand that more than 200 people were recruited immediately after the elections, and then 100, we are told, could not pass the test.
In fact, Austin Gami, he corroborates what you're saying. He says over 200, but many were retained, many others not retained. So
it cannot be a political issue, it cannot be a legal issue, purely based on performance. I mean, if they really wanted to sack all those that were recruited by the previous administration, the number wouldn't be 100. It's unfortunate that people will have to lose their jobs, but the reality of the day is that those that have been affected by this must be angry at the very people who organized the press conference. They must be angry. In fact, they must go after them. They are supposed to be bankers. Is that not the case? You remember we used 21 billion Ghana cedis to collapse banks that needed only 9 billion cedis to survive in this country. A lot of these people could have found their way in these banks, 9 universal banks, most of which local banks. You talk about Royal Bank, you talk about Capital Bank, you talk about Unibank, you talk about all these banks that could have absorbed more than these numbers we are talking about. In that period, those that are holding press conferences, that wants us to believe that they would have done something different, more than 6,000 people lost their jobs. GN Bank alone, more than 3,000 people lost their jobs. So if people are going to talk about retrenchment, it must not be coming from the New Patriotic Party. When they do that, it annoys the sensibilities of the people of this country. You understand? You are talking about the fact that they should be working in a bank. I just told you that the minimum capital requirement for opening a bank in this country is only 400 million Ghana cedis. Is that not the case?
Indeed.
How much did we invest in the cathedral? It's not $58 million. Just granted that the dollar to the city today is 1:10 cedis. Multiply 10 by $58 million. That gives you 580 million Ghana cedis. We could have opened a bank and absorbed all these people. Wicked people, they use it to go and dig a hole. And they got the nerve to come and tell you that, look, hey, we are fighting for you. You must be angry at them. I can bet my last person that the people that were rushed to the Bank of Ghana, a lot of them pay bribes to get that position. They pay bribes. I'm telling you, people pay. Yeah. They took so much. If you really thought of these people, would you recruit them in December when you had lost elections, or in December that you knew very well that you were losing elections? So one bank could have opened there. Recently, a bank that I do small business with, they sent me a message trying to pat themselves at the back that they have increased their capital position. How much have they got? They say 548 million cedis. So I should be singing, hey, then something crossed my mind. Hey, so it means what we are talking about, the national service, when you see any of them that have been accused, they are a working bank. That my bank is telling me that they are now in a position, the asset base is now 548 million, and so they are happy. National service, the allegation is that about 4 or 5 people, they are working with about 548 million. That is a bank working. All the people that have been sacked could have worked there. You see why you must not be entertaining some of these people. You see, we are in 2025. People must understand. We are in an era where we are wide awake and we will not allow anybody to come and throw dust into the eyes of the people. Those that have been affected, I wish them well. The economy must expand, and I will call on government to rapidly develop this economy to absorb all of them. Does it not strike you that a bank, at the same time that they were recruiting these people, the financial statement of Bank of Ghana, only 2024, they incurred an operational loss of 9 billion.
So you say the focus shouldn't have been on incurring even more financial.
The bank is operating at a loss. Look at that. We decided to embark on a program called Gold for Oil. You never saw that program. Did you cite any document to that effect?
Like a policy direction.
They threw away 1.82 billion. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and his people, they threw away 1.2 billion.
We thought it was a two-pronged approach, gold and cash for oil.
No, it was just a scam. The Bank of Ghana just reported that we threw away 1.82 billion. Now, those people that incurred all these costs to the Bank of Ghana recruited more for the Bank of Ghana. The personnel cost alone at the Bank of Ghana, as of the last count, runs into 2.9 billion. That's how much we are paying for the staff of the Bank of Ghana.
2.9 billion.
Billion. It's even conservative. That's a conservative figure. And believe you me, the last time I checked, those that did this evaluation, they were there during the last regime because it was done by the HR department, HR and then other personal development department. They were there under MPP, they were there under NDC 1 or 2, they continue to be there. So when professionals are doing their business, you don't have to, as a political party. Yes, everybody knows that we are all in the political space. But after elections, there is cooperation. We have to cooperate to develop this country. The time for rigorous campaign will come in 2027 to 2028. That is where some of us will bring superior argument to topple the National Democratic Congress. But until then, it is not nation development. And I dare say that the people who wants us to believe them as holier than thou, they have no business whatsoever organizing press conferences. And I will plead with our dear women. I came from the womb of a woman. That is why I side with my brother. That now that the men have messed up, you know, all the men, it used to be Gideon Boak who was talking about Bank of Ghana, targeting Esiama, the current governor. When he realized that with a small tweak, there was stability in the city, the guy ran into chefs. So they go and bring our dear woman. Please, don't come and carry this cross. It's too big for you.
This is a minority decision.
It's never a minority. There are few people
depends on who is the face. But Solomon, you talk about when it's time to go campaigning, you'll be bringing us something from the Movement for Change. We have the Great Transformational Plan. Should we look out for the Greater Transformational Plan?
Absolutely. That will be a superior plan in 2028. Right. Mind you, our political party will be in place, and that will be an election to watch. An election to watch. Nobody is going to entertain propaganda going forward. We want solutions that will alleviate poverty, that will give more jobs to the people of this country.
We look forward to platforming as many perspectives as possible. Dr. Zato, this press conference that was held yesterday and the demands that emanated from them, are they in the right direction, or is it misleading to say that these laid-off workers have a case?
Thank you very much. I must state without any hesitation or equivocation that the comments by Mr. Kutok and this are personal, they are sexist, and they are condescending on this a member of parliament. You are attacking her because she's a woman. These are part of the reasons why women don't want to go into politics. Because you single her out, you single out her sex, and you are attacking her because of that. What you are trying to do is to put some type of pressure on women not to come out. She is a member of parliament elected by the people of Sevelego. And she has every right to stand up and to talk about national issues. When she leads a press conference, you can attack her on the merits or otherwise or what she has said. But to go after her just because she's a woman is condescending. It's sexist and it's wrong. And we should not sit here and entertain such as coming from a policymaker. We shouldn't accept that. Two, talking about this particular issue, we should put this sacking within a proper context of the mass sacking of Ghanaians since there was a change of government. It has happened. This is not an isolation. That is why people are crying out. It is not the only thing that has happened. Estimates, conservative estimates suggest that up from anything from 2,000, 3,000 work people's appointments have been terminated.
It's not true.
So I'm saying conservative estimates.
Where from that conservative source? I want to know.
Have been terminated.
And Dr. Zato, that was going to be my next question to you.
But I want to do something.
How do you support that figure, please?
Yeah, I'm saying conservative figures.
From where? How did you put that together?
I will tell you. But before I come there, let me make a point.
All right.
Madam Host,
no.
Host, we
Solomon,
cannot sit on this platform.
I want
On
to
me,
let-
your boss. We report to you.
I kept quiet.
We
right?
supposed to answer you.
Solomon, he has only just started this session.
Conservative
By
figures.
the time that he's finished,
Conservative figures.
from where?
No point. Oh, the number of
Is it that-
nurses,
is it that
the
when you
number
say
of nurses that have been,
conservative
what's the
figures,
name?
can you imagine?
Whose appointments have been terminated, the number of teachers whose appointments have been terminated, the number of people who have been terminated in the National Communication Authority, the number of people who have been terminated, all these conservative figures come to this. But this is the point I want to make.
So just bear with me, Dr. Zato. So just so we can draw a line
Yes,
under it.
draw a line.
So this is from your, at least,
Yes, remember,
perusal
doing the math.
of what is going on.
Yes, this
All
is
right.
me
This is
adding
from
the numbers.
you.
Adding the
All
numbers.
right.
This is from me adding the numbers.
That's the meaning
But this is the
of-
point. This is
that's
the
the
point.
meaning of conservative figures.
That's the point. This
It
is
means the
listen.
source is
Ellen, on 26 May 2017 at 7:12 p.m. there was a tweet. And this is the tweet. I want to read the tweet. Mass sacking of workers by APP government is unacceptable. These workers are all Ghanaians and have rights which must be protected. Hashtag one Ghana, one people. Do you know the one who sent out this tweet?
Who said that?
His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, John Dramani Mahama.
He said it was unacceptable.
I'm quoting a tweet.
This is 2017.
2017, when the new government came, May 2017. Today, we are in June 2025. Mass sacking is happening. I want to believe sincerely within my heart that His Excellency doesn't know about this mass sacking. I want to believe sincerely that the people that are doing this mass sacking are hiding it from him, because His Excellency is a nice person. He's a kind-hearted man. He loves this country. He's a patriot, and he definitely wants to see this country progress and go to places. I don't think, and even as a social democrat, I don't think that he will want to be seen to be the one harshly dealing with proletariats. Workers are proletariats. The backbone of the social democracy, Democratic Party, are working masses of the world.
All right, foundation
so I don't want
well
to believe
laid.
that. I want to believe that. So my
Foundation
point is
well
that, look,
laid.
this is not an isolation. This sacking or this is not isolation. We must take it and see. The fact is that some of these people voted for the NDC. Some of these people voted against the NPP. Some of these people voted for the NPP against the NDC. But they are all Ghanaians. I stand with the working masses of the world. I stand with the working masses of Ghana. And I stand with these people. You have lost your job. I sympathize with you. Some of you are breadwinners. Some of you are the only hope in your families. Some of you have children. You've lost your jobs. Don't give up hope. I pray that the good Lord will smile on you. I pray that another opportunity comes knocking. I pray that things get better. Elections have consequences. These are some of the consequences of the elections. And I pray and hope that something good will come your way. In
Dr.
the meantime,
Zato,
things are hard.
Let's actually focus on the issue at hand.
Yes.
Thank you, though, for that foundation which you laid. And in fact, I'll expand that conversation further, because this phenomenon of governments leaving power and then seemingly bringing a lot of people on stream is not new.
Exactly.
And
Agree.
it's something that we have to contend with. So a new government will take over power and then find that their coffers are constrained because of the decisions that have been made by the previous government, which might not be in tandem with the position or the pace or the capability of the current government, for
Yes,
example.
I agree.
So there's something that I'll play for all of us to ruminate on in due
No
course, right?
problem.
But you've laid your foundation. Now let's come to the merits of this particular issue.
Yes.
If you say that you commiserate with those who have been laid off, are you also then in support, as the minority is, that they seek legal redress? And what legal, shall I say, provision would they be standing on to make their case, especially as we've seen excerpts of the letters that were written to them indicating that their probation period had ended and that they had not made it to the other side. Some had and some hadn't. So just specifically for that, you've sent out this message. You say you commiserate, times are hard, you want them to seek redress. How exactly are they going to do so, and on what provisions?
I've not said I wanted to seek redress. I'm not
Okay.
a lawyer. I don't
Okay.
know which law they can go to. I don't know which legal relief they can seek.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
This is what I know.
Okay.
When you lose your job, it's devastating. A job defines you. A job makes you whole. A job makes you a human being. Unemployment is a big issue in this country. We've seen that. So any human being that loses his or her job, it's consequential. So I'm praying and hoping that these people, they get another job soon, or I'm hoping, praying and hoping that an avenue opens for them. I'm praying and hoping that they're able to live their lives. what has happened to them is devastating. What has happened for them is difficult. What has happened to them is dangerous. And I'm praying and hoping that. You made that point about governments doing that. Maybe it's true. And that's why I read the tweet. Previous governments and government keep doing it. And so far, nothing shows that future governments will not do it. Nothing shows that. So I always say, let's look for long-lasting solutions. Imagine we introduce a legislation that says that no government should hire anybody in December. Imagine we do that.
In fact, that kind of suggestion has come up.
So my point is, in this country, we do wishy-wishy, and then we leave it and go, because we also want to what? Exploit that opportunity when we get the opportunity. And that's the same thing I'm talking about. Imagine that today, the majority says that, okay, look, this thing is becoming too much. We will legislate and say that henceforth, no government, no party should employ people, add to the public sector wage bill in December, starting from December. And that whatever hirings you want to do, if you cannot do them before you hand over power, don't do them. When we do that, then we then create room for the new government to come inside and to see that. My point is that unless and until we do that, we are going to increasingly use Ghanaian workers as pawns, as political pawns. Sometimes promising them jobs for votes, and sometimes using them and dumping them after we've won power. The best way to deal with this is to come up with appropriate laws to freeze hirings so that this thing doesn't happen again. But if it's going to happen, policymakers and politicians will exploit it.
All right, Dr. Zato. And interestingly, that foundation came after. Typically, you would set us off with that sort of open foundation and then hone it in. But I think this time around, you twisted it. You're keeping us on our feet. Yes, I know you want to talk about this, but I want us to flow in this tangent, and then please, you come in for me. So bear with me just very quickly. I want us to take a look at this video because we're talking about some of the obligations that governments will put on an incoming government, a government that's on its way out, and then we can come back in studio and talk some more. This is in relation to Ghana Gas. Take a look.
Ghana Gas, we are about 1,290 in number. This is the staff strength. I needed to establish that because I know that honorable members are interested in employment. So I needed to really say this first, that Ghana Gas is seriously overstaffed. At that time in 2016, we were 250. And then between 2016 and now, Ghana Gas staff strength is over 1,200. Ghana Gas's core mandate or core work is to maintain the plant and ensure we have gas to power. So one of the cost drivers of Ghana Gas is exactly that. Now, I'm sure you also will know that Ghana Gas has done a lot of corporate social responsibility. Honorable Chair, I'd like to let you know that yes, it's another of our cost drivers, the third wing of what we do. So once again, I'd like to say to honorable members that Ghana Gas, as of now, are trying to stay focused on our core mandate. If you recall, I just enumerated what our mandate is, and one of them was not to spread ourselves thin, to do corporate social responsibility to the point where it is our third cost driver. I'd like honorable members to know that Ghana Gas now would like to move away and really focus on what we're mandated to do.
All right, so I hope you were able to follow the import of that submission. Ghana Gas, they're talking about the staff strength moving from about 200 thereabouts in the year 2016. Fast forward now, you've got in excess of some over 1,200. I've got to also mention that we haven't gone back in time to look at how the strength sizes of different enterprises have gone, but I think it's fair to say that these numbers will increase over time. The population is increasing. It's only normal, but also just to put in context how much burden is put on the taxpayer and what successive governments have to come and inherit when it comes to taking over the mantle. So Dr. Zato, you talked about that in your submission also, that's something to also take a look at. But in terms of really why it is you're commiserating with these individuals, I still haven't gotten that import.
It's personal. They are human beings. They are Ghanaians. They were paying taxes.
So you're just sympathizing?
I'm just sympathizing. Look,
Okay.
anybody loses their job today, I sympathize with you. Times are hard. Things are difficult. So, and some of these people are breadwinners. Some of these people have children. They have bills to pay. So anybody, in fact, not even the public
Do you put
sector.
any blame on the previous administration? Is there anything that you think could have been done better?
I do.
Okay.
The fact that a lot of people are hired after an election is something we should stop. It's something that we shouldn't do. And I think that wasn't fair. But I'm also saying that that's not the first time. If you go back to this thing, the similar things were done. And that's what I'm saying, that there are these complaints. So my point is that, how do we then prevent this rapid again? Again, look, this is what I said going to happen. Now there's this hula baloo after it. But I can assure you then that if there's a change of government, we may see these things. Why don't we legislate it? See, we leave so many things to discretion of policymakers. Then they exploit the system either for personal or political objectives. Then we come back and we are complaining. Why don't you shut down the door? Remember, there was a time we didn't have a transition bill. Now we have a transition bill saying that this. You know, there was a time whenever there was a transition, they are chasing people for cars and vehicles. Now we don't do that because there's a bill. Legislate this thing. Say that as part of the transition processes, freeze all public sector hiring by this period. Don't hire anybody else. Then we have clarity so that we don't repeat this. But if you don't do that, policymakers are opportunistic. And they will exploit any policy they have because it could be partisan interest, it could be political interest, or it could be all of the above.
Thank you, Dr. So as you commiserate, you also condemn in equal measure these actions that you describe as opportunistic. Elikem, let me hear you, please.
In the first place, when the transition teams were formed, let it be known to Doctor that they mutually agreed that government halts any recruitment, unless he's unaware. I'm also sorry, I didn't know he's a lecturer. He brought it here that he has his students watching him. Let me address his students. If Doctor is saying here that when his students come with fake certificates to their school and the authorities find out, they should still contain them on human grounds because it is painful, etc., and therefore want to say that what I was saying means that I am attacking a woman, I am so disappointed because he being a doctor with students, and I'm sure his students who listened heard clearly my clarity, which Solomon also said. That look, in the first instance when I referred to her as a woman, I made it clear that because the men were finished, is that not credit to her as a woman that now it was the turn of the women to actually show up, and she should show up properly? But comprehension is not common to everybody. Number two, when I again mentioned her as woman, and he now says that was sexist. Is it sex you just feel like you want to make mention of on the scene? Or it is just that you have failure to comprehend what I said? I have been very calm over these matters because I have been very careful with my choice of words. But to want to rather be so petty and swayed it, when you claim you have students watching you, who I believe even comprehend these matters very well as we discussed it, that when you go for a job, you are told that you are on a probationary period of 6 months. If you fail to meet that, you cannot be hired. What makes this rocket science?
All right, Elikem, I wanted your final thoughts on this particular issue that we're dealing with, just in about a minute. Or that was your final thought on that?
I think I am okay, because you see, I feel that definitely everybody will feel some pain if being a victim of that circumstance.
Indeed.
But you see, even Ghana Gas has just made us also know that they are overstaffed. And when you read out President Mahama, then candidate Mahama said, mass sacking. You see, a lecturer is supposed to know the choice of words to properly.
Elikem, let's keep it within the matters.
Yes,
let's just keep it within the matters and not take it out of the matters.
There was reference made to President Mahama, who is not here, and I must defend at all times.
All right,
President Mahama,
just wrap up for me, please.
Said mass sackings. What are we referring to by mass sackings? That is by just sacking people without reason. What topic are we discussing? We're discussing Bank of Ghana, which gave reason that the people did not meet the probationary period.
All right,
then the lecturer is telling his students that President Mahama said mass sacking, and therefore referring to that, it meant it was the same as this.
Thank you for that.
That is comparing apples to oranges.
That's the final bite there from Elikem. Solomon, also just a minute for me. You summarize your thoughts on this last issue.
So what we are discussing is beyond politics. Let's get it straight. The evaluation was done by the HR department of the Bank of Ghana. I don't remember the last time the HR department turned into a political party. That's number one. Number two, the number of people that were recruited in December, it's not all of them that have been sacked. Those that could not meet the threshold. In our various companies and organizations, if you do not perform, you are sacked. Dr. Zato knows that as a lecturer, if he does not make publications within a year, or a number of publications, as a lecturer, he will be sacked. That is evaluation. Same with Bank of Ghana, any institution. I do not think that a company or an organization like the Bank of Ghana that has a net equity position of negative 61 billion, operational loss of 9 billion must be entertained to be recruiting, when in fact the personnel cost puts a lot of burden on that organization. We cannot be encouraging that. What I want to admonish this government to do is to begin to have an enterprise mentality, as has been preached by the Movement for Change over the years, that we expand the base of this economy, we make the private sector works so that we can create more avenues to be engaging a lot of these people who are unemployed, so that we will not be having a situation where banks will be collapsed haphazardly, like my brother Zato and his party did, for all these people to be absorbed. And those that have lost jobs, if indeed your qualifications and your performance do not meet criteria, improve yourself.
All right.
Improve yourself. And nobody can gaslight us with these emotions. And they are human beings. And they are this. Those that are unemployed in the house, are they not human beings? What is he talking about?
Solomon, thank you so much for your views this morning. But this is where we park it for the big issue. Elikem.
I just want to wish Caleb Kuda and Godfrey Mayen, who is our Northeast Regional Organizer, happy birthday.
All right, yes. Fantastic. Happy birthday to those individuals.
Oh, is it your birthday too?
The Ghana Airport, There are
it's been another hot Wednesday.
When is your birthday?
It's in February. But if you still send me a favorite cake, I'll take it.
Oh, it's belated. Solomon, we missed Dr. Zato's birthday.
It's very important that we miss it. Because we cannot go to celebrate any birthday again.
All
So
right.
when is your birthday?
Me, I don't. Every day is a birthday for me.
That's not the question.
On that note,
Much.
we can park it
No,
here.
your birthday
for
is
the
when?
big-
Your birthday
Oh,
is when?
sadly, my birthday is gone. It's gone. 15th
It's
April.
only you're going to So you are inviting us to a party.
All right.
Birthday, right? Okay,
All right. Well, July is certainly one to watch.
Sharp. Are you have made?
No, my dad is.
Sorry.
My dad was.
Sharp.
Okay, so that connection is there.
That's a small vandal spirit.
That's the hint he gave you this morning. All right. All right. We all look forward to Wednesdays when they roll around. It's been another hot edition of the big issue this morning. And very many thanks going out to all of you who engaged with us, all of your thoughts, your comments. I couldn't read them out, but it's good to see that you were engaged every step of the way. To Dr. Joshua Zato, very many thanks going out to you, Senior Lecturer, Political Policy Analyst at UG. Also, Elikem Kotoko, Deputy CEO, Forestry Commission of Ghana. And then we also had Solomon Owusu, he's a Senior Communicator, Movement for Change. We'll park now for a quick break. But of course, we're cashing out this morning. It is still *439#. You too could be walking away with 1,000 Ghana cedis. We go on a break. When we come back, there's more right here on New Day.